Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
My name's Butch Maslin and I'm an alcoholic. Hi everybody. By the grace of God and only by the grace of God and the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous 12 Steps and a strong sponsorship, I've been with you since September the 21st, 1989, and I'm real grateful for that. I would just like to echo what Scott said and to thank that gentleman for 57 years of carrying a message and doing the things that he's done so that this place would be here for people like you and I and stuff, and I sure hope that for you people who are new, you get the opportunity to go and thank that gentleman and shake his hand before you leave here tonight, because I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have a deep love for the old-timers in Alcoholics Anonymous, a deep, deep love. Men and women who've been coming for 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 57 years, who've made sacrifices and commitments so that this thing would be here for people like you and I. I love them from the very bottom of my heart. And again, if you're new to Alcoholics Anonymous, I would urge you to get close to these men and women and learn from their experience, because we're not going to have them with us forever. And again, Ed, I really want to thank you. I want to do something here in a hurry. I want to, first of all, thank the committee for the opportunity and privilege of being here this weekend. When I say that to you, I'm not saying it because I'm at an AA meeting and it sounds nice. I'm not saying it because I want you to like me. I'm saying it because I mean it from the very bottom of my heart. I consider it a privilege to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I consider it a privilege to come here and be with you people. And I want to thank you for the invitation to coming here and taking part. I want to thank Bob for picking me up at the airport last night. I've made a real good friend there, I know that for sure. And Scott for his hospitality and kindness and stuff today. Well, he invited to take me out for breakfast this morning, which I thought was awfully nice of him. And he took me into some smoke room dingy bar. I thought maybe that's how they do it here in Des Moines. I don't know. But he told me it was a mistake. He got into the wrong place. I'm terribly disappointed that I can't call my wife and just tell her I want a year's supply of oil changes in Des Moines. Depresses the hell out of me. I'll tell you the kind of alky I am. I walked in here today and saw that flat screen TV, and I'm immediately thinking how I can get that thing across the border without paying duty on it. So some habits are hard to break. I want to welcome to the people here in their first year and welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous and congratulations. Keep coming back. You're about to embark on a journey that is absolutely second to none. One of the things I can tell you for sure tonight before we get started, you're not going to hear anything profound. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those brain-damaged alcoholics. We seem to do okay, don't we, Scott? I just do what I'm told. I don't know any better. And so that's the thing tonight. I'm not here to tell anybody anything. I'm not in the telling business. I am not an AA speaker. I'm an AA member. I'm just a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's lots of people out here tonight who could come up here and do a better job at this than me. It just happens to be my turn. And I'm here to share with you. I'm not in the telling business. So in this tonight, if I get a little enthusiastic about Alcoholics Anonymous and happen to say you, I don't mean that. These are the things that I have to do. These are the things that I do to stay sober and to live a good life in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I think it's important that I say that to you before I start. I'm going to talk quick here tonight. I know some of you want to get through with this nonsense and get on with the dance. And I don't know what it's like here in Des Moines, but I'll tell you at home in Alcoholics Anonymous at my home group, alcoholics are nuts. Huh? It's the only problem with AA, too many alcoholics. We're nuts. I don't know how it is, but we go to my home group. My home group starts at 7:30. If that meeting's going on at 25 to 8, you think World War III broke out. Or 25 to 9, I should say. If that meeting goes longer than 1 hour, we had a meeting at my group a little while ago. We had a 15-year birthday for a fellow I sponsor. We had a fellow come all the way from Cleveland, Ohio to talk at that meeting. Sober 44 years. He was a pallbearer at Sister Ignatia's funeral. Our history. And that fella, he talked 10 minutes too long. We had to have an emergency business meeting. Emergency business meeting. Speaker spoke too long. We're nuts. We are people who would sit in some upholstered sewer for 2 days straight and never give it a second thought. But for God's sakes, don't spend an extra 10 minutes in recovery. Might be bad for you. Anyway, I'm happy to be here tonight. Now, I really am, and well, I'm happy to really get anywhere when I'm going somewhere. Alcoholics don't always get where they're going to, particularly when we drink. But even sober, sometimes we don't get where we're going to. And I'll tell you, for me, I love the United States of America, always have. Love drinking here and love being sober here even more. I have a great love for the American people, really do. And so I love when I get to come here. Now, I got to tell you, I have not always been allowed in the United States of America. And let me just add, nor should I have been. They said to me, we have enough of your type already here. We don't need to import them. But in sobriety, I applied to the U.S. immigration, U.S. justice system, and I've been granted a waiver. I have a waiver to come into the United States of America. I have a piece of paper at home. Well, it's right here in my hotel room right now. It's a beautiful piece of paper, and it says that I am able to come to the United States of America on humanitarian grounds. I don't even know what that means. But I'll tell you, it's on that paper. It's nice. And when I come here, every time I come to the States, that's why it's here, I have to show that when I come through the border. And now, when I got that thing, I'm the type of alcoholic, you're probably not like this in Des Moines, but I'm the type of alcoholic every now and then I can misplace things from time to time. So when I got that waiver, I photocopied about 15 copies of it, just in case. Now, I was coming here last year one time to Illinois, and I'm going, and I generally fly early in the morning, and I'm up early on the Friday morning, and I'm looking, I can't find my waiver. I said, Deb, where's my waiver? Like it's her responsibility to know, huh, Sandy? You know what alkies are like. And she said, Butch, I don't know, wherever you've put it. I said, you've put it somewhere. Blame others. So she says, I don't know where it is. Listen, you got to get going to your flight. Take one of those photocopies, get going. I'll find the original. So now away I go, and I got that, and I'm getting to the thing, and I get up to the thing, and when I cross the border, they don't want to know that I'm going to Des Moines. They want to know the address where I'm staying. I don't particularly know why, but they seem to want to know exactly where I am. So I'd forgot to ask the committee the address. So now I get up there, and I'm going to go through the customs and stuff. And please don't mistake me. Our customs guys do a wonderful job protecting our borders. They really, truly do. But I think when those custom guys go to custom school, they teach them how not to smile. Huh? And I get up there, and there's a real young fella there. Maybe he looked about 18 years old and stuff, pretty stern-looking guy. And I go up to the counter, and I got all my gear, you know. I've got the stuff because I got to fill out what they call an I-94 form, and I got all these papers and stuff, and I give him my waiver. And this guy looks at me, and he says, what are you, a criminal? I thought, oh, here we go. I said, perhaps at one time you could have said that. He says to me, where's your I-94 form? I said, and I'm ahead of him. I pulled it out. He says, that's the wrong one. Now he takes my waiver and he says to me, that's a photocopy. I said to him, yes, I keep the original at home for safekeeping. Lies just fall out of my mouth. I don't have to think about it, they just fall out. He says to me, he says, you can't travel on a photocopy. I thought, oh, I'm not going to Illinois today. He says to me, you go, he says, you got to fill out a proper I-94 form, he says, and then you're going to have to see somebody about this photocopy. You can't travel on a photocopy. So I go back over, I fill out the form, but I'm one of those alcoholics with the keen alcoholic mind. And I'm watching, and I waited till someone went into his line, and I went over to the other ones. There was an older, kinder looking gentleman, like Ed there at that thing. And I get up there and I give him all my papers and stuff now, and he said to me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Illinois. He said, what's the address you're staying at? I said, well, I don't know. He said, you don't know where you're going? I said, well, not exactly. I said, but somebody's going to pick me up at the airport. He said to me, who's picking you up at the airport? I said, I don't know. He said, let me get this straight. Somebody you don't know is picking you up at the airport, taking you somewhere you don't know where you're going. I said, yeah. He said, what did you say you're going there for again? I said, well, I'm going to speak at a conference of Alcoholics Anonymous. He says to me, what are you going to speak about there? Before I can answer him, he looks at me, he says, let me guess, you don't know. So I'm happy to get where I'm going. Anyway, I'm a member of the Tuesday night Collier Street group of Alcoholics Anonymous. We meet at 7:30 on Tuesday nights. And before we get started, I just really want to thank this committee for all the hard work they've done. I don't know about you, if you have selfish alcoholics in the United States, but let me tell you, we do in Canada. And I can go to these conferences and roundups and stuff, and I can come here and have a wonderful day and listen to the speakers and have raffles and have dances and a beautiful dinner and leave here at the end of it, get in my car and go home and forget about all the hard work that's been done in our behalf. You see, these things don't just happen. There's been people that have taken time out of their life all year long to have meetings and committee meetings and do this. There was people here this morning long before you and I got here setting this thing up and going to all the work. And there will be people here when we go home tonight tearing this down and cleaning this stuff. There is a lot of people. There is people that gave up their entire day to sit back there and sell raffle tickets. They're still back there in that now. And they do all of that on our behalf. And I want to sincerely thank the committee and the people who have done all the hard work here tonight on our behalf. The other thing, I'd like to thank the people who are at the door all day long to shake our hands as we come into this meeting. I think one of the most important things we can do in all of Alcoholics Anonymous is to be at that door shaking hands. I think that's the most important thing we can do in AA. Because when that new guy or new gal walks through that meeting for their very first meeting, I'm going to tell you an in-depth version of step 4 doesn't mean much to them. But a warm handshake and a welcome. Come on in and get a cup of coffee and sit here with us means a great, great deal. And I want to thank the people at the door who welcomed us today. You've done a wonderful job here. My home group's a Tuesday night group, and I promise you, and I'm not in the promise-making business, but if you come to my home group on a Tuesday night in Barrie, when you get to the bottom of those stairs, I promise you there will be people at that door to shake your hand and welcome you to our group. That's for sure. I've been very fortunate in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm one of those people, I never had to drink from the time I first came here. And I'm, again, one of those fortunate ones that I happen to love AA almost from the beginning. I know it's not that way for a lot of members. A lot of members struggle to return to drinking. A lot of members don't like being here much and stuff. I was very fortunate. And I've liked everything about AA. I like meetings. I like conferences. I like service days. I like assemblies. I like workshops. I've happened to like the whole thing, but I'll tell you what I love most of all. Group night. Group night. There's something special about group night. I wake up on a Tuesday morning and I'm excited already. It's group night. Now, I don't go to my home group and float in and float out of there. I don't go there and all my troubles just vanish. But I'll tell you, I go there and I feel better being there. Something special about group. I've had 2 groups since I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. When I moved to Barrie, I kept my same group for 2 more years because I just loved going there, but I felt I should belong to a group in the community where I lived, and I joined the Tuesday Collier Street, and I've been there ever since. And I just like group night. I was sitting around my home group one night. It was a discussion meeting. It came around to my turn, and I said, you know something? I said, I think I'm the luckiest guy in the whole wide world. I wasn't trying to be profound. It's just the way I felt. I said, I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I said, if you gave me the ability tonight to be anywhere you want to be, Butch, you can be anywhere in the world tonight you want to be. French Riviera, Swiss Alps, Las Vegas, Paris, you name it, you can be anywhere in the world you want to be tonight. I said, there's no place I'd rather be than right here in this meeting. Lady next to me said, you've gone too far this time, Butch. She said, I can think of a lot of places I'd rather be than an AA meeting, and I had no qualms with that statement. And if there's anybody here tonight who is new to Alcoholics Anonymous or not so new and struggling here, and find that statement to be kind of crazy, I want to share a story with you that may help you why I felt that way that night, and I feel that way tonight, all these years later. This is a true story. Well, I hope my whole story's true, but this part is for sure. True story happened many, many years ago, a long time ago. It was shared with my sponsor. My sponsor shared it with me. There was a fellow in Canada, in Western Canada, who came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and he was brand new to AA. He was only sober a month or 2. And his job transferred him. He got a transfer across the country to Ontario. And before accepting this, he went home. They had 2 little girls, and he went home and he talked to his wife about accepting this new job, and it'd mean them traveling across the country, and they decided that they'd take it. And he accepted this transfer and uprooted his family and took them clear across the country. And he moved into a little town over in my part of the country. And to his credit, as soon as he got there, he looked up Alcoholics Anonymous and found out where the meetings were, and he started going to AA. And he was there for a few months and sort of settling in, and there was a car accident, and his wife was killed, 25 years old. Here's this fellow in a part of the country, didn't have any family or anything there, new to AA, and his wife's gone. He made a decision he was going to have a funeral service there, and then he was going to take his wife's body back out west to bury her. And in those days, it was a long time ago, we weren't flying much then, they traveled by train. And he went to his AA group, and he asked 6 of the members in his group if they would act as pallbearers for this funeral service and to see the coffin to the train, which they agreed to do. They had that funeral service, the coffin was taken to the train, and the 6 AA guys were there at the train station when that fella boarded the train for a 2-day trip back out west to bury his wife, absolutely heartbroken. That fella left, and 2 days later in a little town in Western Canada, that train pulled into a little station, and that fellow got off the train onto the platform with his 2 little girls in hand. And there, standing on the platform waiting, were the same 6 AA guys. They'd taken time from their jobs. Some of them borrowed money. They flew out west and rented a car and were waiting at that little station when that guy got there. Just wanted him to know AA was with them. I ask you, why would I want to be anywhere else in the world but with people like you? Huh? I like to drink. I don't know about you guys, but I like drinking. I love drinking. I hear people in AA, I think you think it's sacrilegious to say you like to drink, for God's sakes. Huh? Drinking took me places I didn't want to go. Doing things I didn't want to do. With people I didn't want to be with. I'm thinking by now, why did you bother? I wanted to be with those people in those places doing those things. I love that. I love drinking. I love that lifestyle, and the seedier the better. I started to drink at a very early age. I hear a lot of people in Alcoholics Anonymous talk about they came from dysfunctional families. Was my family dysfunctional? I don't know, but let me tell you, it wasn't the Cleaver residence around my home. There was lots of party in my home. There was drinking on my home, always weekends, party stuff. And as a little wee boy, they'd let me play bartender. And I could take them beers and take away the empties, and they'd let me have swigs. They'd say, isn't he cute? Oh, and I loved that attention. So I started to drink when I was 4 years old. Now, I wasn't a daily drinker when I was 4. My allowance wouldn't allow it. But I actively sought alcohol the first time I was about 12 years old. I got a guy to go into a liquor store, get us a couple bottles of wine. I'm gonna be a wine connoisseur. I don't know, you don't have the same kind. It'd probably be equivalent to what you call Thunderbird here, right? And I'll tell you, any wine I ever drank had a cap, not a cork. We drank that wine, got drunk, puked, and passed out. That was the end of my social drinking. It was all downhill from there. I hear people in Alcoholics Anonymous talk about social drinking. They came to you've heard that, came to Alcoholics Anonymous hoping to learn how to be a social drinker. You've ever heard that? I want to tell you tonight, I didn't want to be a social drinker when I drank. I don't want to be a social drinker tonight. I don't particularly like social drinkers. I find them weird. Weird. You ever watch a social drinker drink? They let the ice melt in their glass. That's sick drinking. That's alcohol abuse. You ever drink with a social drinker? That's enough to make you puke, isn't it? You're having a few scoots, huh? Would you like another one? Oh, no thank you. I'm starting to feel it. Really? I thought that's when you put it in overdrive, huh? Don't identify. I don't identify with closet alcoholics. You know, they get their bottle, go in, lock the door, put on the hurting music. Don't identify. Doesn't mean they're not alcoholic, just drank differently than me. I'm a barroom drinker. I love bars. I love bars. I got a little buzz going through that one this morning, Scott. Honest to God. Oh, yeah. Love it. I like opening the door to a bar. Huh? That smoke would billow out, that tinkle of glass. I like neon. I like neon. I like neon when I was drinking. I still like neon. That's why I stay out of those casinos. They're not a good place for guys like me. And I thank God I never tried to get sober in the United States of America. I don't think I'd ever made it. Oh, geez, I love drinking here. I love those little places you got. I call them juke joints. You know those divey little places you see, those divey little joints on a corner with a little neon sign out front that says cocktails. Oh, huh? I was on my way to an AA thing in Pennsylvania a number of years ago. Deb and I, we were driving. And I'm going through this little town in the middle of nowhere. We're driving down the main street of the town, and all of a sudden I hammer on the brakes to my car. I'm backing the car up the main street. She said, "Butch, what are you doing?" I said, "I got to see this again." And there it was, this divey little juke joint with a neon sign. Said, "Stop for one, stay till one." If I'd have been drinking, I'd have had that tattooed on me. Just a work of art, absolutely beautiful. Love that style. Barroom drinker, love that action, love the whole thing. I was the type of alcoholic, I could never stand for the party to end. I don't know about you. Couldn't stand for the party to end. I'd be in that bar room drinking. I'm the type of guy, no, none of you guys will identify with this, but I like to be a big shot. I'd be in that bar buying drinks for everybody, a tray over here, a couple down there. I'd be in that bar 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Bars in Ontario closed at 1 o'clock, then it'd be starting to get late. I'd say, "Listen, you're all invited back to my house. I got a case of vodka, I got a bag of powder, come on, the party's on." We'd be back there drinking and snorting now, carrying on 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, 5 o'clock. People are starting to go. I'd say, "Where are you going?" "It's only 5 o'clock. Ed, you don't have to work till 7. Stay." And now everybody's going and stuff, and it's only Ed and I left. He wants to go. I'd say, "Ed, buddy, come on, just one more, come on, just one. I'm pouring him, sit down, relax. You have to work tomorrow, Ed? Don't worry about it. I'll call your boss. Huh? Just stay. Your wife's gonna be upset? Take mine. Just don't go." Couldn't stand for that party to end. You know what it was? I couldn't stand to be alone. Oh God, I hated to be alone. As long as the party was going on, as long as the music was blaring and the neon was flashing, and I could be buying you drinks and we could be laughing, and you could tell me what a wonderful guy I am. You see, I needed your attention as much as I ever needed a double vodka. The vodka allowed me to act in a way and do things where I thought I could get your attention and your approval, and that's what I needed. Could never stand for the party to end. I'm not going to talk anymore about my drinking tonight. I'd like to just share with you very quickly what drinking does to and for an alcoholic of my type. Just a little heads up for some of you people who are brand new to Alcoholics Anonymous, you're going to hear things, if it's anything like here at my home, you're going to hear talkers get up here and say things like, I don't like drunkalogs. When you hear that, buckle up, because you're about to listen to 60 minutes of drinking. It's important I share with you about my drinking for the purpose of identification. That's why we talk about what it was used to be like, so you can identify with me as an alcoholic. But I've come to believe in Alcoholics Anonymous, doesn't matter if I'm drinking Dom Perignon or aftershave lotion. Doesn't matter if I'm drinking in a Fairmont hotel or under a bridge in a box. It's what drinking does to me that's important. And that's what I want to just very quickly share with you. I'm the type of alcoholic. We talk an awful lot in Alcoholics Anonymous about resentments. Tonight, let's discuss resentments. I prefer to call it hate. Absolute hate. I'm the type of alcoholic, I'd be sitting at a red light and I'm on the nod by now, and that light would turn green and the guy behind me would lay on his horn. Whew, I almost go through the roof of my car. I'd like to get out of my car, go back there, open the door, drag him out by the throat, take a crowbar and crack his skull wide open. Now I know you spiritual giants here never thought thoughts like that, but I do. Hate. Hate. I pick up a plate of food, sitting at the kitchen table with my wife, I heave it across the room and smash it against the wall. Hate. I'm not talking about anger. I'm talking about white rage. I'm talking about a rage that I don't have 5 seconds before and I don't have 5 seconds after. But I swear to God, for that split second, the only difference between me and the guy sitting doing life in penitentiary now is seconds and inches. Because I swear I had a rage that every now and then could just explode that I had absolutely no control of. And I want to tell you who takes the brunt of my rage and anger if you're an alcoholic like me. Because you see, I'm a people pleaser. I want everybody to like me. I'm the guy buying drinks for everybody, do anything for anybody. Oh, that Butch is a great guy. I'll tell you who takes the brunt of my rage and anger is the people who love me. And it happens behind closed doors. Because you see, I already have their love. I already have their approval. I don't need theirs. And that's who takes the brunt of my rage and anger. Fear. Every decision I ever made in my life was based on unfounded and ungrounded fear, and I never knew it. Alcoholics don't even know they're afraid. I had no idea where I went, what I did, all based on fear, and I had no idea. As I look back at my life today, I can remember being a young kid in school. I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years old, I'd be in that classroom. And the teacher, she'd ask a question, and she'd start looking around the class to see who she was going to ask to answer the question. And I'm going to tell you something, my head goes down like this. Because I know if she makes eye contact with me, she's asking me to answer the question, and I don't want to answer the question. And it doesn't even matter if I know the answer to the question, I don't want to answer the question. And when I went to school, we used to have to do book report. Get up in front of a whole classroom and do book report. That is a bad deal for me. Bad deal. I wake up in the morning, I'd say, Ma, I've been sick all night. I've been throwing up all night. Ma, I can't go to school today. I just can't go. Because I want to tell you that I'd be terrified at the thought of getting up in front of that classroom full of kids. Terrified. I remember going to a thing, I'd walk into a room full of people where I don't know anybody. Sober, I'm talking about. Painful. I remember I'd get in some of these goofy tangents where I'd say I'm going to quit drinking every now and then. You ever go to a wedding sober? Whoa, that's a painful deal. I'd go to there, and now it's time, the reception's starting and the dance is going to start, and I haven't had a drink yet. Oh, man. I'm going to tell you, my hands are sweaty. I got a sick, I'm just, ooh. And I got to do one of two things. I got to get over to that bar and get a few drinks in me, or I got to get out of there because I feel so terribly uncomfortable. And I remember feeling that fear as I look back today. Not at the time. Not at the time. Where I went, what I did. Do you want to go over and do this with those people, Butch? Nah, I don't feel like it. I was uncomfortable to. I was afraid to. Everything I did where I went was all based on a comfort zone. Lonely. I was 25 years old. I was standing at a subway platform in downtown Toronto. And a train pulled up on a Friday evening around 8 o'clock, and a train pulled up and the doors opened, and a young couple my age got off that train, and they walked off into the night holding hands, laughing and smiling. And I felt an emptiness and a loneliness like I couldn't describe. You know what I thought to myself? Why can't I be like those people? Huh? I remember walking in a warm summer night through a nice residential area, maybe 9 o'clock, just getting dark and stuff. And I'd be walking down the street in the nice homes, and I'd see the lights on inside and their television and the families in there, and I'd look there and I'd feel so sad. I'd think, why can't I be like those people? Why's all the trouble got to keep happening? Why's all this stuff got? I'd just like to be like other people. From as long back as I can ever remember, I was restless, irritable, and discontent. If I was drinking in this bar, I'd say, drink 'em up, Ed, let's go over to the other bar. If we're at this party, I'd say, guys, drink up, let's go over to the other party. If I was married to this girl, I should be married to that girl. Never seemed to be quite right. If I had this job, it should be that job. And all that stuff. And I'll tell you, I don't know about you, but I get one of those double vodkas or whatever it was I was doing, and it was just like this. Oh. I don't know if anybody remembers that feeling or not, but I'll tell you, it was just like, oh, jeez. Whew. I get goosebumps when I do that. I have to be careful. I did that in a meeting one night. 2 guys got up and left. They remembered the feeling. I'll tell you, I'd put 2 or 3 of those double vodkas in me and those sweaty hands would vanish. That knot in my stomach was gone. That rage would subside. That loneliness vanished. And I'd walk into that room full of people now like I owned the place. Huh? And I could talk with the ladies, and I'd sit around with my buddies drinking and snorting and carrying on. And at that moment, everything in my life was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And that's why I drink, because I like the effects produced by alcohol. You put alcohol in my system, and I get an immediate sense of ease and comfort. And the whole world looks like a much better place. But I'm alcoholic. I'd start drinking, I'd drink 60 ounces of vodka, I'd go out and smash my car up. I'd go out with the guys for a couple beers after work, I'd go on a 4-day binge, I'd get fired from my job. I'd tell my wife I'm going out for half an hour, I run into Ed, I'm gone for 3 weeks. You're gonna be in trouble by the time you get home tonight, Ed. Now my wife's leaving me. Now I'm out there drinking and carrying on, I got no job, I got no money, so I'm stealing yours. Now I'm going to jail. And what everybody focused on in my life was the crashed cars, the broken marriages, the lost jobs, getting in trouble. We looked at drinking. We never looked at alcoholism. And people told me from the time I was 18 years old, Butch, if you would just quit drinking and sticking needles in your arms, you'd be all right. And guess what? There's times I wasn't drinking and I wasn't okay. I was crazier sober than I ever was when I drank. I would love to stand up here tonight and tell you I woke up one morning, my wife was sending me flowers. Household finance was dying to lend me money. Work was thinking of promoting me. And I thought to myself, I think I'll join AA today. Huh? Every now and then I hear some moron from the front of one of these rooms say things like, if you're not here for the right reasons, you might as well drink. And every now and then I'd like to get the tire iron back out. Huh? The right reasons? Did you come to Alcoholics Anonymous for the right reasons? I came to Alcoholics Anonymous because I had nowhere else to go. My boss called me into work on a Tuesday. He said, Butch, you're a very good employee. I said, well, thank you. He said, but you're not here much. I felt he was being a little picky. He said, you think you might have a problem drinking? I said, no. I said, but I know what the problem is. He said, maybe you'd share that with me. I said, it's my health. He said, really? I said, yeah. I said, now granted, my poor health may have something to do with my drinking. I'm going to quit drinking, my health's going to get better, and everyone's going to be okay. He said, do you think you might need some help quitting drinking? I said, no, I'm just going to quit. Got up and left his office. I was to find out later his wife had been a member of Alcoholics Anonymous for a number of years. Can you imagine the chuckle he had as I left? He's just going to quit. Huh? That was Tuesday. I woke up Thursday in another hotel room in another town drunk. I didn't keep him waiting long. And for whatever the reason, I knew the jig was up this time. I knew I was in trouble. I'd used all the lies. Alcoholics are liars. I don't know what that's about. I'd sooner lie than tell the truth. I'm a pathological liar. I'm the type of alcoholic, this is the gospel truth, I'd go out and play golf. We were talking about golf, Bob. I go out and play golf all by myself and cheat on the scorecard. And at the end of the round, take a look and say, Jesus, Butch, that's a good game you had today. I believe my own lies. I can't differentiate the truth from the false. Huh? And I like big lies. I don't know about you, not just little, I like big lies. Alcoholics are exciting people. That's why people marry us. If nothing else, it's not dull. And I like big lies. Have you ever been kidnapped? Huh? 3 times. 3 times. You're not gonna believe it, honey. Got me again. So I had used all the lies and stuff. I knew I'm in trouble this time. I got to come up with something good, so I gave it my utmost attention. I had a few tequilas, turned my mind to it, and I thought, I know what I'll tell them. I'm alcoholic, and I'm going to go to AA. And that's how I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. And if there is anybody here tonight who is new, we couldn't care less why you're here. We're just glad to see you. And maybe, just maybe, by the grace of God, something someone will say, something you'll read, something you'll hear, and the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous can happen in your life, and you can go on to live a happy and useful life like so many of these men and women have been able to do. Just keep coming. We couldn't care less why you're here. We're just glad to have you here. Keep coming. So I started coming to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I want to tell you that I've been an absolutely blessed man since the day I came to AA. Richly blessed. Richly, richly blessed. Deep, deep love, as I'd mentioned, for the old-timers, the men and women who came into my life. I've heard people in Alcoholics Anonymous say that you're not to have anybody on pedestals. You've probably heard that too. Well, you do what you need to do. But I'm going to tell you something. I have some giants in my life, some heroes, some men and women. Never for a second have I lost sight of their humanities. Do you want to know the greatest gift my sponsor ever gave me? The greatest gift that the old-timers have ever given to me. They'd allowed me to see their shortcomings. They'd allowed me to see their warts. Because if they hadn't, I'd never measure up. I'd never measure up. And I had some wonderful people come into my life, none more than my own sponsor, Bobby Dobson. And I got to tell you that I have been treated with nothing but kindness and respect and love from the day I came to AA. Now, I hear lots of people talk about they're told to shut their mouth and stuff like that, and maybe that's what some people needed. I don't know. I don't think that happens as much as we like to say from up here. But I'll tell you, I was treated with kindness and love and dignity. But I'll tell you, I am very grateful tonight that the men and women who came into my life cared a lot more about me getting well than they did me liking them. And they told me the truth. They told me the truth. And they told me that the root of my problem was selfishness and self-centeredness. And this thing is about changing, Butch. They told me little things, like we want you to come to the meeting early. Go to the washroom, get your coffee, sit down and be quiet. Maybe you don't care what's going on in that meeting, but maybe that couple sitting there would like to listen. And for once in your life, why don't you think of somebody else? It was true. When I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I couldn't say a full sentence without 4-letter words in it. It's the way I talked. I'd been on the street since I was 13 years old. I didn't know any other way to talk. And nobody embarrassed me in an AA meeting. Nobody centered me out in an AA meeting, but they took time out of their lives after and took me aside and said to me, Butch, this isn't some juke joint bar room you're in now. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a classy organization here, a ladies and gentlemen. And maybe that language doesn't bother you, but maybe it bothers that couple sitting there. And for once in your life, why don't you think of somebody else? Huh? It was true. It was about change. I had no idea what my problem was. Never had a clue. Had no idea what my problem was. You were the very first people that told me. I go to a detox at home. I'll be there Monday afternoon, not because I'm some saint. It's the way I was taught how to do this. And I go there and I talk to the people in that there. And I say to them, first of all, I'll say, how you doing? I get a lot of them say to me, oh, fine. I point out to them, you're in the detox. People in the detox are not doing fine. I say to them, anybody here ever lose a job because of their drinking? Huh? Anybody here ever get in trouble with the law because of their drinking? Anybody here ever have their families lose their wife or husband, boyfriend, girlfriend? Anybody here ever hurt their children because of their drinking? Anybody here ever hurt people that they love and care about because of their drinking? Anybody here ever hurt themselves because of their drinking? And I ask that and I look, and you ever see those cars that has a little doggy in the back window, the head bobs up and down? Huh? Well, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a dozen heads all going up and down. And I say to them, I'd like to ask you a question. Knowing that, knowing everything that drinking or drugging has done in your life, knowing all the trouble it has caused, knowing the people that you've hurt that you care and love about, knowing that, why would you go back and do it again? And I look at the blankest looking faces you've ever seen. And do you want to know what their answer is if they're an alcoholic of my type? It is exactly the same answer that I had when my mother and father sat in a prison visiting room when I was 17 years old with the tears coming down their face saying, Butch, why? You promised there'd be no more. Why again? It's exactly the same answer that I had when my wife sat at a kitchen table and the tears streaming down her face saying, Butch, why again? You just promised me last week there'd be no more. Why? And I'd look at those people and you know what I'd say? I don't know. I don't know why. And that was the absolute truth. See, I never knew what my problem was. You were the very first people that told me, Butch, drinking's not your problem, it's your solution. How you feel when you're sober is your problem. You are restless, irritable, and discontent. And that is why you go back and drink or drug again, time and time again, because you can't stand the way you feel sober. And if you're an alcoholic, you will eventually be in so much emotional pain that you will either blow your brains out or drink again. You have to. It is the nature of this illness. It's what makes you an alcoholic. I never knew that. I had no idea. None. You people told me what we had here is a set of principles, spiritual in their nature, and if practiced as a way of life would expel the necessity for me to drink alcohol and get a load of this. Allow me to live happily and usefully whole. What a beautiful deal. I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell you, all I ever wanted when all that mayhem was going on in my life, when I was hurting people that loved me and care about me, when all that was happening, you know all I ever wanted? I just wanted to be okay. I was just trying to have a good time and didn't know any other way to do it. Had absolutely no idea. And you told me you had a design for living. You had a practical program of action, and if I practiced as a way of life, would allow me to live happily and usefully whole. Beautiful deal. Beautiful deal. You told me Alcoholics Anonymous is about action. It's about doing. It's about doing. I was sober a few months, and I was at a meeting, and it was announced that there was going to be a retreat. I went to this old guy, old Harry Kemp. I think Harry was God's first sponsor when God sobered up. I said to him, Harry, what goes on at that deal? He said, Butch, you never mind. It'll be good for you to go. It's going to be a lot of AA people. You get a ticket, you go to that thing. So I got a few guys together, and we went to this thing, and I got there, and when I walked in there on the Friday night, there was a man sitting there, and there was just something about him. You people, some of you people know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a gentleness about him. There was a calmness. There was just something about him. Bob has it, and other people I've met here. But just something about him. And we sat around that night talking, a bunch of people and stuff, and talking AA stuff and that. And I sat beside him, and I just wanted to be near him. Just wanted to be near him. I didn't know. I just wanted to be. Anyway, got late into the night, and he excused himself. He was going to bed. And he got up, and as he was leaving the room, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, I'll see you in the morning, kid. And I felt goosebumps go through me. I never thought any more about it. Next morning, there was a meeting, AA meeting, and he was the speaker. And he got up and he told his story. And as he told his story, I started to feel those goosebumps that I was feeling the night before. And at the end of his talk, he said that he wanted to close his talk with a wish for us, that he had a wish for us. And he said that that wish for us was that God's richest blessings be heaped upon each and every one of us. And here's where the miracle happened for me. He said, because my dear, dear friends, you are deserving of absolutely nothing less. And I started to cry. And the rest of that weekend went on, and we left on the Sunday, and I was driving home, and I'm driving down the road. I got 3 guys in the car, and I can feel my eyes filling up with tears, and I'm trying not to cry because we all know tough guys don't cry. And I'm driving down that road, and I absolutely, for the very first time in my life, know 2 things, and I know them beyond a shadow of a doubt. The very first thing that I knew for the very first time was that there was a God, and that he was with me. And the other thing that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt then, and I know it tonight, I knew I was going to be okay. And I knew it. And I believe that that day I took the first 3 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. You said here that what we have are principles that we practice. Don't you love when we read how it works at every meeting that we attend? Huh? Don't you love what it says at the end, when we finish at the end of the 12 steps? Whoa! What an order. I can't go through with it. Huh? Don't you love what it says after that, though? Don't worry. None of us can. None of us can. Bill and Bob couldn't. It says, as a matter of fact, none of us is able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these steps. The point is, we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. We just practice this thing, day at a time. Some days I do better than other days. Some days fear slips back into my life. Selfishness slips back into my life. But I practice it every day the best I can. But you told me there is one thing that we have to do in Alcoholics Anonymous, 100%. Only one thing, and that's the first step. That one we had to do 100%. No practice in that one, you told me. You said that we had to admit to our innermost self that we're alcoholic and we couldn't manage our own lives. To my innermost self, in the depth of my soul, that I was powerless over alcohol and my life had become unmanageable. I thought they meant my life had become unmanageable when I parked my car in your living room. I thought you meant my life was unmanageable when I went out after work for a beer and went for 3 weeks. I thought you meant my life was unmanageable when I drank. My life's unmanageable sober. The unmanageability in my life is I cannot exist out in that world. I'm so full of fear, and I need to put some chemical in me so that I can even function in any sort of a way. The unmanageability in my life is that at any split second I could take a brick and crush someone's skull wide open. I got so much hate and resentment buried in me that I don't even know I have. The unmanageability in my life is even though I got people who love me and care about me, I can be in a room of 1,000 people and feel all alone. My life's unmanageable sober. You told me that I had to admit to my innermost self, in my soul. You see, I believe we can go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous tonight anywhere in the world. We can go to any detox center, treatment center, and say to the people in there, are you powerless over alcohol? Huh? And I got a feeling every single one of them is going to say, yes, I am. Yes, I am. They know it here, but I got to know it here. Because I believe, if I don't believe in the depth of my soul, that my life depends on taking these actions, I'll never do the things that are required to stay sober and be happy. Because the root of my problem is selfishness and self-centeredness. And soon as my life starts getting a little better, soon as I get a few bucks in my pocket, soon as I get my wife back, I'm going to stop taking the actions that I need to take. Because I'm selfish and self-centered, and I'm consumed with me. And if I don't believe my life depends on changing that, I will never stay here. I will for a while. I will for a while, but I'll never continually stay. I had no idea. And you took me through this thing. I'm a product of strong sponsorship, and I believe in strong sponsorship. And you took me through. You helped me to go through an inventory. You see, I had no idea. I didn't do an inventory and go, my, Butch, you haven't been a very nice boy. It was no surprise to me that I was a liar, cheat, and a thief. I knew that. But I had no idea how full of hate I was. I had no idea how selfish and self-centered I was. I truly thought that I was a nice guy because I judge myself by my intentions. You see, I always wanted to do the right thing. The world judges me by my actions, and my actions and intentions never, ever measured up. And I didn't know any of that till you took me through an inventory and helped me to see what I needed to see. That's why I had to share that with somebody who understood what I was trying to do. Because you see, I suffer from a disease of perception. I can't differentiate the truth from the false. We talk all the time in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hear people talking about denial this, denial that, disease of denial. Doesn't talk about denial in our book. Doesn't talk about denial at all. Talks about delusion. Denial was when I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar. And my mother said, I told you not to take those cookies. I'd look her square in the eye and say, I didn't. She'd say, Butch, I just saw your hand in the cookie jar. I'd say, no, you didn't. Huh? I knew my hand was in the cookie jar. Denial. Delusion is my problem. I can't tell the truth from the false. I don't even think things are that bad. Huh? I'm dying and my life's going crazy and I'm destroying anything and anybody that's close to me, and give me a couple beers and I'll sit back and think things aren't that bad. Delusion. That's why I have to have somebody that understands what I'm trying to do take me through that inventory and share that with them so they can help me to see the things I need to see. And then you talked about changing. You talked in there that in step 6 that this is the step that separates the men from the boys. That wasn't meant in any sexist way, but I knew it was vital. And you told me it's about change. You see, it's easy for me to change stealing. It's easy for me to stop those blatant lies. It's the things that I don't ever see. It's that underlying fear and that underlying selfishness and all of that stuff that I don't even see. Those are the things that I need to change. You know? And I hear people all the time say they're working on anger now. Good luck. Good luck. Because I don't know how you work on that type of rage that I have. I have no idea. And the defects that I have. That's why I had to ask God to remove these things, because I can't do them alone. I don't have the power. Lack of power is my dilemma. And I need power, and I have to have God to help that. And I had to make a list, and I had to make amends, and I believe that our program is a character-building program. I believe that through a process and a series of actions, I slowly begin to change. You see, I believe recovery is a process the same way I believe relapse is a process. You ever hear, oh, Bob just had a slip? Really? You show me an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous who belongs to a group, who has a sponsor, sponsoring people, applying these 12 steps to his life, doing the whole deal, just popped in for a rum and coke? I don't buy it. I think we slip long before we take the drink. I think the slip is a process, the drifting and the drifting away and the anger comes back and all that stuff. And I believe that our steps are a character-building process. And you told me that I had to continue to take inventory. Been a very important part of recovery for me the longer I'm sober. Because I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell you something. The longer I am in Alcoholics Anonymous, the longer I'm sober, at times the harder it is for me to be truthful with you. The longer I'm sober, at times the harder it is for me to come to you and tell you I'm dying inside and I don't know what to do. Because I've been sober for a while and I'm an active member and I want everybody to think I have it all together. I've listened to people talk in Alcoholics Anonymous for 45 minutes, debating whether they were recovered or recovering. Smoke starts coming out my ears. Who really cares? Semantics. Who really cares? But I'll tell you what you showed me in the book. You showed me where it says it is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and to rest on our laurels. And if we do, we're headed for trouble. Because we are not cured of alcoholism. Not cured. What I have is a daily reprieve that's contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. And my spiritual condition is maintained here with you doing the things that I need to do in Alcoholics Anonymous. Does that mean if I stop taking the action tomorrow I'm going to be drunk next Thursday? I don't think so. I don't think so. But slowly, so subtly, I start getting restless, irritable, and discontent. And if you think restless, irritable, and discontent is bad when you're drinking, try it sober. And eventually I will become so uncomfortable, I'll drink again. I cannot stay sober today because I used to be a GSR. I cannot stay sober today because I used to go to the detox. I cannot stay sober today because I used to make the coffee at my group. I stay sober today by the actions that I'm taking in Alcoholics Anonymous today. It's easy for me. Now, I know you people in Des Moines aren't that sober, or that selfish, I mean. I definitely ain't going to get the free oil change now. It is easy for me to go. I can go to my home group on a Tuesday night, and I'll tell you something. I know almost everybody there. I have a lot of friends in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I can go to my home group on a Tuesday night and be over by that coffee machine, drinking coffee, talking to all my buddies, and shaking hands with all my friends and having a wonderful time. And the new guy walked down those stairs and stand at the door, and I don't ever see him because I'm so busy doing my thing. Easy for me. I have to be very careful. And you told me I had to grow spiritually, in the great paradox of Alcoholics Anonymous. If I want to keep it, I got to give it away. Huh? What a beautiful deal. After everything we've been given, after been given the gift of sobriety and all the good things that come with it, then we're given the ability to maybe make a small difference in someone else's life. You showed me in the book where it says nothing ensures us immunity from drinking like intensive work with other alcoholics. When all else fails, this works. Huh? You showed me in the book where it says the occasional good deed is not enough. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depends upon our constant thought of others. What a beautiful deal. Huh? It says that when other people can't help, you and I, in a few short hours, if properly armed with facts about ourselves, not facts. I've known lots of alcoholics know a lot of facts. Huh? Facts about ourselves can help when nobody else is able to. Huh? Have you ever wondered sometimes what visitors think of us? Huh? Have you ever wondered, you know, we have a birthday, someone's having an AA birthday, and some family or friends or something come, know nothing about Alcoholics Anonymous, nothing about AA, and they come. Have you ever wondered what they might leave thinking of us? Some monkey like me gets up at the front of the room and says things like, I bought a brand new Cadillac, picked it up on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and totaled it at 10. We all laugh. Huh? We all laugh. Told my wife I was going out for a loaf of bread, and I ended up in Alaska. Came home 6 months later. We all laugh. Huh? I've been in 18 treatment centers. I've had 27 shock treatments. I'm still sort of twitchy. We all laugh. You ever wondered what they leave thinking about us? It says in our book that alcoholics laugh at sometimes seemingly tragic situations. Huh? You know what it says after that? Of course you do. You've read the book. You know what it says? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Because we have recovered and been given the power to help others. I'm not powerless today. After everything we've been given, we maybe can make a difference in someone. That's why we're here. The dance we're going to have tonight's wonderful, the raffle's wonderful, all that stuff is a wonderful part of AA, but it's not our purpose. Our purpose is what these speakers earlier have so wonderfully done. It's what you do at your home group, what we do at the detox centers now. We carry this message to another alcoholic. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. You know, somewhere along the line, Alcoholics Anonymous, I have to stop looking at what I go there to get and what I start going there to give. And if I miss that, I've missed the whole spirit of what this thing's about. Can I take 5 more minutes? I'm taking them anyway. That'd be nice to ask. Still want people to like me. I want to just quickly talk about something, and we'll get on to the dance, of something we talk about at many meetings that I go to, probably many meetings you go to. I think the most talked about topic in all of Alcoholics Anonymous, if we could somehow take a survey worldwide of what we talk about, most of all in AA, I think it'd be hands down what it would be. Huh? Let's discuss gratitude. Huh? My sponsor told me, Butch, gratitude is an action, not a thought. Don't tell me how grateful you are. Show me. Show me you're grateful. And I want to tell you tonight that I'm extremely grateful just to be grateful. Because before coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was never grateful a single solitary day in my entire life. No matter what I had, it was never enough. If I had a car, I wanted a newer car. If I had a house, a bigger house, a job, a better job. It didn't matter what I had in my life, I always wanted more or different. Didn't know the meaning of gratitude. I had the good fortune in 2000 to go to the International Convention in Minneapolis. Quick little sidebar to that story. You know where it says in our book, our past will be our greatest asset? Huh? U.S. Immigration has not read that chapter. No. I am like a kid in a candy store. I am so excited. I'm going to the International Convention in Minneapolis with my sponsor. You going, Scott? Coming back? Good. I am so excited. I'm going to tell you, I'm just like a kid in a candy store. And I went to pick up Bobby on a Wednesday morning. We're going to Pearson International Airport to fly to Minneapolis. To make a long story short, he got on the airplane. I didn't. I'm here tonight to tell you our past will be our greatest asset. I got to Minneapolis, just took a couple days, all in the name of God. Anyway, when you get there, and I know a lot of you here were in Toronto, and I sure hope we showed you a nice time in Toronto. Yeah. When you get there, they ask all the members sober over 40 years when they register to let themselves be known. And on Saturday night at what they call the big meeting, they have all the old timers sit together at the foot of the stage and they draw 15 names out of a hat and they each speak for 3 minutes. Well, at that time, my sponsor was sober over 40 years. And by that time, Bob's health was starting to decline and his breathing wasn't so good and he couldn't walk that well. And on Saturday night in Minneapolis, they said to me, "Kid, you take your sponsor down there and you stay with him and sit with him." And on Saturday night in Minneapolis, I sat with 50,000 members of Alcoholics Anonymous, 202 members sober over 40 years. And I turned and I looked at that little man and I watched the tears streaming down his face for a love of a fellowship he'd given his entire life to. And I had a sense of gratitude beyond anything I've ever known. You see, my friends, everything in my life that is good, anything that I am or ever hope to be, is because of you. Everything. Am I grateful? I'll tell you something, I'd walk to Des Moines if I had to. Everything that I have is because of you. Everything. You know, I had some people say to me, "You talk an awful lot. What about gratitude at those meetings?" Couldn't help but notice you have a new car out in the parking lot. Business is going pretty good. Huh? New house out on the lake. Things are all right. How grateful would you be if they weren't? That's a real fair question, isn't it? Because it's easy to be grateful when things are going good. But what do we like when they're not going so good? Well, that little sponsor that I just mentioned to you, his health continued to decline. His breathing got worse. He had emphysema real bad, and he couldn't walk anymore. And we'd take him in meetings to wheelchairs and stuff. And on June the 8th, he had to talk in a meeting a couple 100 miles from our home. And he'd been real bad that week. He'd been in the hospital twice, and I called him up. I said, "Bob," I said, "I think maybe we better call Cliff and Mary." Longtime friends of ours, their daughter was getting a 1-year birthday. I said, "I think maybe I'm going to call Cliff and Mary, Bobby, tell them we can't make it tonight. They'll understand." He said, "Oh, no, kid." He said, "That young girl, she's expecting us there. We got to go." So I said, "Okay." And I went and got him and stuff, and he's on oxygen that all the time. He had this great big tank. He called it the Beast. He had these little cylinders, but he liked this tank. I said, "Bob, will we take those portable?" He says, "Oh, kid," he says, "I'd like to take the Beast if you wouldn't mind." I said, "Oh, no, Bob, I don't mind." So we go, and I'm loading. I'm telling you, I got tanks, I got hoses, I got wheelchairs, I got more stuff in that truck than the paramedics got. I load him, I get in that truck. We drive a couple hours to this meeting, and they had no wheelchair access there, so the boys loaded him in the wheelchair and carried him in the wheelchair down the stairs. We got there, we got oxygen tanks, I got hoses hooked up in the wall, I got him all hooked up, and he's up at that front of the room, and I'm going to tell you something. He gave a talk you wouldn't believe. Man, he gave it all. He gave it all. And he could hardly breathe by the end of it. And at the end of the meeting, we got all the stuff unhooked and all that, and the boys helped me get him back in the truck, and all the stuff loaded, and he and I headed home. And he was spent. He was done. And we're driving home, and he said to me, "Kid," he says, "I'm awfully glad you were with me tonight." Well, we were always together. We went everywhere together for a lot of years. And I said, "Well, I'm real glad I was with you too, Bob." He says, "No, kid," he says, "I'm really glad you're with me tonight." He says, "I think I just gave my last talk." You have to understand that my sponsor spoke at somewhere between 150 and 200 AA meetings a year for over 40 years. I said, "Oh, Bob," I said, "you're just tired. We're going to get home. You're going to feel better." And I got him home, and I got him upstairs and all the stuff, and I was going to go. He said, "Kid," he says, "do you have a few minutes before you go?" I said, "I have all the time in the world." He said, "I just want to look at my journal." And he looked in his journal, and he said to me, "Kid," he says, "the journal's empty. There's nothing in place." That is the first time that journal had been empty in 46 years. And I left and stuff, and the next day I called him and talked to him. He was a wee bit better, June the 9th. And on June the 10th, AA's birthday, I called him about 7 o'clock at night, and there was no answer on the phone. And I knew. And I couldn't go there. I didn't want to go see what I knew I was going to see. And it took me 2 hours, and I finally got a young guy sponsored. I said, come on, we got to go see the old man. And I started to cry. He said, what's wrong, Butch? I said, the old guy's gone. He said, how do you know? I said, because it's June 10th, and the book is empty. And we got to that condo, and we got some people to let us in, and there was that little man that I loved as much as life itself. And he was kneeling beside his bed, face down, and he was gone. And it was a really empty time for me. You know, I was there a long time. Paramedics came and stuff and all that stuff. We were there for hours. And I stayed there, and finally all that stuff was done. It was late in the night now, and I went home, and my Debbie, she's in the flying business. She was away, and I was at home all alone. And I sat at my house, and I'm going to tell you, I had a real good cry. Because I knew there was a part of my life that had just changed forever and was never going to be the same. Please don't misunderstand me. My life is good. My life is full and rich and wonderful and will continue to be as long as I stay here with you doing the things I need to do. But I knew there was a part of my life that had just changed and was never going to be the same, a big part. And I had a good long cry, and then I went upstairs to my bed, and I'm going to tell you something. I knelt down beside my bed, and I thanked God for another day of sobriety. You see, my friends, Alcoholics Anonymous works in the good times, and Alcoholics Anonymous works in the hard times. Alcoholics Anonymous works all the time. In those darkest hours, in those most troubled times, when we feel like our heart's going to break in two and we can't go another day, when an in-depth version of Step 4 isn't going to do it, when going home and reading 449 isn't going to quite cut it for you, that's when the men and women in Alcoholics Anonymous, that's when your sponsor and the people in your group, they'll pick you up and they'll carry you through. Alcoholics Anonymous works all the time. Everything in my life that is good is because of you. And I could never thank you if I lived 1,000 years old. You want to know the real kicker to this thing? You've never asked me to. You've never asked me for a single solitary thing since the day I came to AA. You've merely suggested to me, although at times strongly, that I try to give a little bit back of what's so freely been given to me. Take a new guy to a couple of meetings. Show him some love and some kindness. Maybe give him a hug and tell him he's going to be okay. I don't know how you feel about that, but it seems like a terribly small price for what's been given to me. I want to thank the committee for the privilege of being here tonight. I want to thank you people for your kindness and patience in listening to me. You know, I don't know what's going to happen from here on in, and none of us know for sure, do we? See, that's called life. Just because we get sober and become members of Alcoholics Anonymous, life doesn't stop happening. People die, relationships end, businesses fail, people get sick, life still goes on. But I'll tell you something. Every single morning for some time now, I say to my friend upstairs, if you see fit, I sure would appreciate it if you keep me in Alcoholics Anonymous. Because my dear friends, there's no place in this world I'd rather be than right here with you fine, fine people. Thank you, and God bless you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. If that shows up, the gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.